Welcome to Equal Entertainment. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. Taika Waititi's latest movie, Next Goal Wins, is highlighting LGBTQ+ representation on the red carpet and beyond. The LA premiere of the movie included a traditional haka. Part of the movie tells the story of FIFA's first out trans soccer player, Jaya Salua. Kaimana plays the real-life soccer star as they prepare with the American Samoa soccer team for World Cup qualifiers. It's a huge moment for visibility and awareness.
It's such an honor, it really is. And Jaya is, I call her my big sis. She's a legend in the FIFA world. I just feel really honored, and it feels really great to have been a part of this story and, the representation that it brings to the table on a global level. It's a huge deal, and I'm just incredibly honored.
Next Goal Wins hits theaters on November 17th. Grammy winner Brandi Carlile says there needs to be more representation of older queer people on screens. This year, Carlile accepted the Out 100 Icon of the Year award in a room filled with queer joy. She says that moment was about both identity and visibility.
So much of who we know we are comes from pop culture, film, television, movies, books, advertising, music, and amazing things like this. And I spent a little bit of time, because I am a lesbian cliche, with Glennon Doyle and Abby Wambach recently. We were at dinner at their house, sort of airing our lesbian woes and ails. And Abby looked into my soul, and she said to me, she goes, "Do you think you're going to have a long life?" And I suddenly realized that I've been holding this really dark secret for a long time, which is that, no, I don't think I'm going to live a long life. And I don't know why. And I'd never really admitted it before. But I said, I don't. Actually, I think I'm going to die quite young. I go, "Do you think you're going to live a long life?" And she goes, "I don't." And I said, "Well, why? Why don't we think we're going to live a long life?" And she said, "Well, because there are no old dykes in pop culture. We don't have a lesbian Golden Girls." You know what I mean? And I thought about the annals of LGBTQIA+ history and the fact that so few of us are represented in domesticity, in family, and in an aged state. And I thought about the fact that the way we identify ourselves is so interwoven into Western pop culture that if we don't see an old version of us, we don't think we'll live a long life. And that's why nights like tonight make so much of an impact on our family and our community.
Go to out.com for more information about our 2023 Out 100 honorees. Download the Advocate Channel app to watch exclusive Out 100 coverage, including backstage footage and red carpet interviews. Then, beginning November 25th, the Out 100 special will stream live on advocatechannel.com and the Advocate Channel app on Apple, Roku, and Fire TV. Join us for a special night to honor those who are opening doors for others in our community. Prince's iconic white ruffled shirt from Purple Rain is up for auction. The shirt is expected to go for thousands of dollars. The singer wore that soft silk garment during his 1985 Music Awards performance of the song. It's similar to the one featured on the cover of that album. 203 items are for sale. The lot also includes the two-piece outfit Prince wore for the 1986 film Under the Cherry Moon, white high-heeled boots, and a chain hat. Prince died in 2016 of a fentanyl overdose. Singer and activist Joan Baez is proud of her work advocating for others. The musician has been a part of many nonviolent movements since the 1960s. Now, Baez's life, legacy, and decades of activism and music are on display in the documentary Joan Baez, I Am a Noise.
So the film is, it starts out as this, we think we're following you on your farewell tour, which I missed. I don't know how I missed it. I'm sad that I missed it. But so we're following you on your farewell tour, and then it does shift. And I think something that's really impactful about the film is that it touches on your struggle with mental health and, of course, childhood trauma, things that we didn't talk about, that were
Right.
secrets, and keeping them secret was no good for anyone. And
Right.
would you talk about the willingness to be open and have that out in the world?
Yeah. Again, it was thinking, I've got nothing to lose. In fact, may have something to give. I don't think people make documentaries like this very often. As Karen said, yes, it was courageous to sit in the bomb shelter. Yes, it was courageous to go get, tear gas in Latin America, and yes, it was, courageous to face down the Ku Klux Klan. But the real courage came by letting them film this in natural light. Yeah, it's kind of true,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think it's fascinating too because I mean, I've seen you in concert a few times, and of course, I think you come off with a joyful or this inspirational persona, and then we dive into some of your diaries and some of your drawings, and then there's this personal struggle. What was it like for you to see that unfold on the screen?
Kind of touching, really, because I look at it as though it was somebody else. I can see different things very clearly, but through all of that stuff that was going on in me and the panic attacks, I never doubted the voice, and I never doubted the political stand that I took in the nonviolence. Everything else was complete chaos. But those two things, made it possible for me to stay on my feet and stay on my feet well. I couldn't really have fun in the concert till I got older and, dealt with things along the way, but really dealt with them when I did a deeper work. But and then there came a time I thought, oh, this could be easy, and just walk on the stage instead of going through all these shenanigans and stage fright and pill popping or whatever it would take to get me out there. And I could walk on the stage, and lo and behold, there are people out there. I like them. I can have a nice time.
Yeah, wonderful. Would you talk a little bit about, because the film began as, about the farewell tour, and would you talk a little bit about the tour and having this film crew backstage, and how much of that were you able to really live in the moment and enjoy?
Yeah. It's funny, that's all a process too. I didn't know. I mean, I knew some from, doing TV, and now you're going to walk down by your roses, so a hint of what it could be like. Tried to make it fun and tried to make it not a chore. Some of it felt invasive, some of it felt very invasive. And then I would have to make the decision whether I was going to do, like lying with my mother when she was dying. And Karen wanted me to be speaking. I was speaking, but I didn't want to be taped. And we had this long discussion on that, and that one, I kind of made it clear. But there were very few times that I said, can't do this.
Yeah. I love that. And I do want to make sure that, I think I have one more question, but I'm not sure when that note came in, but I want to be sure that I touch on this, because as someone who was coming out in the 80s, it was very impactful to me to discover that you had spoken about having had a relationship with a woman, like back in the early 70s, you spoke about that. And knowing that you had been open about that was really important to me, and I know that it was to others. And that relationship is touched on in this film, which also I really was so happy to see that. Would you talk about what it means to you to know that just by being open and yourself, you have helped other people in their journeys?
It's so wonderful. This is like icing on the cake. And you're not the first person to say that there was something liberating for them or for their friends about me talking about a relationship with a woman. And now it's kind of interesting, though, because that's so old news. That is so old news. But I'm glad I can still interject something into that.
You can watch the Advocate channel live by downloading our app in the Apple or Google Play Store. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. For the Advocate channel, I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist, and thank you for watching.